Welcome back to Occasional Randomness. I'm your host, Eric Scott, and joining me, as always, is my fellow co-host, someone who can sure keep a secret, Jason Johnson.
Yep, I definitely for sure did not mention it to Bob from the office down the hall. Nope, we're all good. How are you? We're all fine here.
And then blame it on somebody else completely. So
Missed that opportunity.
more on that shortly. So on today's podcast, we will continue our journey through the final season of Farscape with Season 4, Episode 6, Natural Election. And just the Farscape this time, as we're kind of in the lull of other Marvel and Star Wars things. But soon, hopefully next month-ish or so, Agatha might be coming out and other things. So soon there'll be more things in Farscape. But for now,
Yeah. And maybe some Skeleton Crew down the way. We'll see.
yeah.
Yep.
But for now, our comfort food, Farscape. And as always, if you like what we do here, please give us a like or review, or better yet, help spread the word to all the things, Facebooks, Instagrams, Twitter, X, whatever, we don't care. Tell everybody. We appreciate it. So this is the even number episode, so I think that's you.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, in that case, let's jump right into Farscape, Season 4, Episode 6, Natural Election, which I think you just said. But,
Hey, well, whatever.
sorry, patterns, people, patterns. All right, so we start out as Moya is sitting at a dead stop in the middle of open space because John thinks a wormhole will form soon. I think they reference the fact that he can even smell them. Aeryn is pacing up and down command while Rigel whines to Dargo, who promised John 2 Arns to wait for the wormhole while he was captain. Rigel is now acting captain, as the crew are taking it in turns until a permanent captain is decided. Chiana comes to command and asks if John's found any wormholes. Ba-boom, John announces, wormhole in 10, 9, 8. But when he gets to 1, nothing happens. Sikozu asks if he knew what he did wrong, and he says, "You mean other than getting up this morning?" Pilot asks for Rigel's orders as John goes over to Aeryn. Sikozu follows him, but Aeryn asks if she'll excuse them. "Can I speak to you?" she asks John. "Quite a few things I'd like to say." "There are a lot of things I'd like to hear," John replies. So she invites him to her quarters when a wormhole appears, to everyone's surprise. Sikozu looks particularly impressed at John's prediction. As Rigel is about to give Pilot his orders, something hits Moya, causing explosions and sending everyone to the floor. Rigel looks outside and asks anxiously, "What happened to the stars?"
Uh-oh.
They're going to put them in the movies, right? Oh, wait, wrong stars.
Yeah. Is that the 2001? No, no. I think that's full of stars. Never mind. Wrong thing.
It's full of
Yeah,
stars.
wrong one.
Yes.
This is the opposite. Yeah.
So maybe that's where they went. Something else is full of them. So anyway. Rigel panics, prompting a slap from Chiana. Pilot says that Moya is convulsing unlike anything he's ever experienced before. Since they weren't moving, something hit Moya, and Pilot says that not a single sensed neuron on Moya's skin is transmitting. He has no readings. Something's attacking Moya's sensor, and her skin is burning all at once. So Pilot says under these circumstances, a hull breach would go undetected. Aeryn takes Chiana to do a perimeter hull search, and Sikozu calls to ask if Scorpius is all right. He says he'd appreciate being let out. "Absolutely not," John says immediately, and calms Naranti. Oh yeah, she's still there. Who doesn't answer.
Or maybe not.
She's in the yeah, maybe. Well, okay. Well, she's in the cooking room, muttering words that eventually lead to her screaming, "Flora, plant." Rigel asks Sikozu what kind of plant lives in space, and John and Dargo go to check the hull and determine it's some kind of plant, so they take samples. Scorpius asks for some assistance since a fire has broken out in his cell. Sikozu races to put it out, and Chiana follows to see what she's up to. She reminds Sikozu that Scorpius is a prisoner. The doors stay closed. "Does he look like he's trying to escape?" Sikozu asks. Chiana doesn't really care and calls her out of the cell. She corners Sikozu against the wall, telling her that they know Scorpius better than her. He probably started the fire himself. Scorpius is listening, and he objects, pointing out that fires are starting down the hall. John says that the plant is oozing something that dissolves metal, while Aeryn says that Moya's fluids are rushed in to protect her internal organs, causing ruptures everywhere. Dargo comments that it's playing havoc with his eyes, while Aeryn says that they have to get it off Moya's skin. Dargo decides that they'll have to blast it off with Lola. Dargo and John fly out with Lola and see Moya completely covered up. When Pilot asks how bad it is, They decide it's best not to tell him the details. Aeryn is with Pilot in his den and asks how they missed it. We didn't, he said. We assumed it was debris. It snuck up while they were distracted by the wormhole. Aeryn tells him not to give up, and he adds that if Moya's skin becomes irreparably damaged, she will not recover. We'll fix it, she assures him. John says they have one last chance, and they should wait. What, so Naranti can tell us how to make a great salad, Dargo asks. No. See plant, kill plant.
Always good philosophy. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that tattooed on my arm for a while now, so yeah. Channa walks along and spots Aeryn in a corner, standing around watching a leak. Channa points it out, and Aeryn tells her what it is and that it can linger in your bloodstream. Never stopped you before, Channa says as she seals it. Yeah, well, this time I'm pregnant. Channa is surprised and asks if she was before or after she left Moya. Before. Does Crichton know, Channa asks. Aeryn shakes her head. Somebody else, Channa asks in surprise. Possibly. Aeryn replies, adding that she only found out on the command carrier and hasn't had a chance to run a DNA test yet. Your life is so much more interesting than mine, Channa says. Can I trust you, Aeryn asks her. Yeah, but I don't want you to tell Aeryn, she says. No way, never. That's your speech.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll end right there.
Yep, I'm sure. Dargo, meanwhile, is preparing to fire, so Moya won't feel a thing. John asks Sikozu if they've found anything, but she says nothing unexpected. The plant secretes an acid which dissolves metal which it then ingests. She mentions that the gravitational pull of the wormhole likely drove the plant to Moya. Dargo initiates the firing sequence as the pot Naranti is cooking the plant in bursts, making her mother eat. Dargo tells John something he's never put into words before. Well, you know how I love shooting things. John's not too sure, but decides not to spoil his fun. Just as they fire, Naranti shouts, "Don't shoot the plant." Sikozu calms them to hold their fire and not shoot, but it's too late. John and Dargo return to Moya, and Sikozu tells them that the plant eats much faster when attacked, rather than having eaten through Naranti's pot rather than allow itself to be cooked. It's a defense mechanism. It's eaten its way through Moya's hull already. John sees some roots and pulls them, causing large chunks of the ship to come apart with them, revealing the infestation is spreading fast in the ship's innards. Aeryn gives herself and Dargo gas masks, while Channa climbs down from a duct and says there's no way she's going back up there again, seemingly having been affected in some way. She says there's plant as far as she can see, and then gets hyper that the plant's acid has gotten on her, rubbing fiercely at her clothes, so Aeryn takes her away to try to help her. Dargo blames himself for the situation, but John points out that they all agreed to the plan, so they all screwed up. The lights go down, and Rigel pesters Pilot to find the problem. Channa and Dargo meet up in the corridor, where Dargo says that he thinks the plant is spawning. It's not the only one, Channa says. You're pregnant, Dargo asks. No, not me, Aeryn, she replies. Oh, there was the time.
Yep, so much for that. Yep.
Dargo is... Yeah, so much for that secret, right? Dargo is surprised, but Channa isn't finished. When Dargo asks if John knows, she says yes, but he doesn't know that it might not be his. Dargo mentions the John on Talon having the same DNA, but Channa adds that it might not be John Crichton's. Well, then whose? Dargo asks. Good question. Dargo asks who told her, and she says Rigel.
Hey, there you go.
You can't trust Rigel, man. He tells everybody everything. But she asks him to swear that he won't say anything, but he just walks away. Naranti tells Sikozu that this Leviathan is in much pain. It's dying. Leviathans are good things shouldn't have to die. Sikozu says that's why they have to work on the plant. Naranti doesn't know what to do, and Sikozu suggests they poison. Naranti says that she knows a lot of poisons. A frustrated Sikozu tries to get her to concentrate on the solution. In his cell, Scorpius notices something about the plant. Meanwhile, Channa goes to Aeryn and says there's no plant in Moya's neural tissue. Aeryn tells Channa that they have other nodes to check, but as Channa goes to leave, Aeryn asks her to forget that they had the pregnancy conversation. Channa worriedly says, sure, but that Aeryn had to tell someone. Yeah, now I'm regretting that I did, said Aeryn. I may not even tell him. Channa is surprised, but Aeryn says that she can't tell him she doesn't know. Channa agrees to forget, saying it's okay. John goes to Scorpius' cell to see what he wanted. Scorpius shows John that he can somehow repel the plant. Aeryn tells John that she has good news. There's no plant in the neural cluster. John says that it must not like the tuberate tissue when suddenly explosions erupt around Aeryn. She climbs up and finds Pilot apparently unconscious, severely drooling from his mouth. Then he suddenly starts convulsing. John and Dargo hope that the plant is repelled by Scorpius' coolant rods, as to Hope's his noxious personality. He jokes. Sikozu explains to Dargo that there's no metal in neural clusters, but there is in the regulators. When they jammed, they exploded. Aeryn ties Scorpius down to the controls in Pilot's den, although he's annoyed at the restraints since he wants to help in any way he can.
Sure he does. Yeah. Or maybe he does.
Uh-huh. Aeryn believes him, but the others don't. Scorpius manages to repel the plant, and elsewhere, John also manages to use a rod to do so. Sikozu says that she'll see how far she can dilute the remaining rods down. Dargo tells John that he knows Aeryn's pregnant. Chiana told him, and Rigel told her. Poor Rigel. Can't trust him. John is hurt that the others have been told, but not him. Dargo tells him Aeryn isn't sure if the child is Crichton's. The thought had crossed my mind, John replies, and then asks what Dargo thinks. I think either way you're going to get hurt, so look after yourself. Naranti tastes some poisons to find out what is working specifically. You defy the whole theory of natural selection, Sikozu tells her.
But not natural election. So.
Oh.
Not quite.
We'll get to the election part.
Almost had a title drop there. Not quite.
Almost. We get the natural selection part here and then some election later. Spoilers for the show we're reviewing. Sikozu tells her, Naranti laughs, and Sikozu tells her that this crew is trying to save them and this ship, and if their plan fails, they need to find out what component of the coolant isn't working. Dargo goes to command to see why Rigel isn't helping. Dargo tells him that he's often insufferable, but it's not his fault. I was captain, Rigel says, but Dargo retorts they can't avoid something they can't detect. He adds that Rigel should hate himself for other reasons, like sulking while the others are out there risking their lives. So pull himself together and do something to help the situation, not hinder it. John asks Pilot if they'll be okay in the fan room, and although phased, he gives the okay. John asks Aeryn if she wants to talk. I appreciate you waiting for this appropriate time and place, she says sarcastically. Yeah, I got pretty good at waiting, he retorts. They position the buckets of thin coolant rod substances under two fans. Rigel says that even the DRDs have given up. The fungus is everywhere. John and Aeryn wait for the liquid to evaporate into the airstream. Well, you know we don't have a contingency plan, Aeryn points out. This'll work unless that plant can mutate in 5 minutes. What could go wrong?
And on cue.
Yeah, never say that. Suddenly, as the plant creeps into the fan's turbines, it breaks it apart and smashes to the ground, knocking over the buckets at the same time. John tells the others the liquid is lost down the drain, and he notices Aeryn on the floor next to him, bleeding. Does it hurt? Where? John asks. Where it's bleeding, she says, slapping his hand away. Rigel asks when John's wormhole will open again, as they've drifted completely over its coordinates. Aeryn asks if Dargo's ship could move Moya, but Scorpius says it's hardly worth the effort. This Leviathan is gone. Dargo says it's worth the risk, and Sikozu says Naranti has isolated the compound. Naranti explains what it is, and Sikozu points out that they have it. It's within Moya's filter system. John instructs the DRD 1812 to get the other DRDs to help, and asks Chiana if she's sure she wants to be there. She agrees, as her body reflects radiation. Aeryn says she'll stay and activate the DRD simultaneously. What about the radiation, John asks. I can handle it, she replies. What about the baby? Aeryn rolls her eyes and spits. I'm going to kill her, meaning Chiana, for her big mouth. Dargo asks for volunteers to take her place, and Rigel goes forth. Dargo, along with Sikozu, Aeryn, and Naranti, leave Moya. John and Chiana go to stop a fan spinning by blocking it with a pole. Scorpius instructs Pilot on what to do if this goes bad. Rigel says to Scorpio, please die first so that my last moment can be joyous. John then starts flushing the mist through the ship, as Scorpius says the radiation makes him stronger. Maybe interesting to note for some future reference. Dargo pushes Moya clear as John counts down successfully to the reemergence of the wormhole. 1812 confirms the mist is spread, but as Rigel goes to ignite it, Pilot awakens, shouting wormhole, and holds Rigel back from the controls. Sikozu says too much mist will cause an explosion. Rigel can't get to the controls, so Scorpius hacks off Pilot's arm to get him free. Rigel manages to hit the control, and the mist is ignited, and the plant is burnt up, finally destroyed. Chiana loses her grip on the pole and falls and is dragged toward a vertical fan. John manages to grab her just in time, but he's quickly losing his grip, so he screams at Rigel to shut off the fans. Rigel panics, unsure what to do, but manages to shut it down just in the nick of time. An elated Rigel is self-congratulating his own efforts, saying he had done it. A scoffing Scorpius sits in the background, though thoroughly unimpressed. Pilot announces the results of the voting for captaincy. The election. Moya abstained, and Scorpius was not allowed to vote, so therefore there were 8 people participating altogether. There was 1 vote for Rigel, who clearly voted for himself, 1 vote for Aeryn. Amazingly, there was 1 vote for Scorpius, courtesy of Sikozu, 1 vote for the Divine Eternal from Naranti, and 4 votes for their new captain, Dargo. While John is in the fan room with the DRDs, Aeryn approaches him to talk about the pregnancy. Aeryn asserts that she didn't want to tell him until she was sure, and that she no longer sees a distinction between either Crichton. John, in return, shows a distaste over her not being aware of who the father was. She explains that military campaigns can last many cycles. Those born on a command carrier can retain an embryonic fetus for up to 7 cycles. This could perhaps be from 4 cycles before she even met John, and only a surgeon can release the stasis so the baby can grow. When she left, she didn't even make it that far. John, still angered, says that he figures the relationships are built on trust, and that while he would easily put his life in her hands, he's more wary of doing the same with his heart. A saddened Aeryn asks what she can do now, as she's prepared to do whatever is necessary, whatever he needs to put this right, to regain his trust. John pulls away, stands up, and says, "Come back when you get your story straight," then leaves a now crushed Aeryn with tears in her eyes, alone. A little bit of trivia for this episode. Jim Henson's Creature Shop proposed creating a master plant similar to Audrey Chu from Little Shop of Horrors.
Feed me, Seymour, feed me.
Reference acknowledged. This episode is the first time Crichton accurately predicts a wormhole appearance. Ben Browder and the writers tried to make it more of a mystical experience rather than a scientific calculation. For some reason, John has decided to add a little bit of Spanish to his vocabulary, in this case doing the countdown in Spanish. And for the first time, Moya assumes a command structure as Dargo officially becomes her captain. So, all that said, what did you think of this bottle episode, Eric?
Yeah, well, hopefully they're saving up for some big things later. But yeah, overall, yeah, I liked it. There's good character moments, as we have a lot in Farscape, and also especially all the time in bottle episodes, where it's just all the cast running around on Moya's sets, and other fun things that we like. I always like to get to see new parts of Moya. So we get to see a fan room that circulates the air, so that's cool.
I bet it had lots of fans once it aired.
Yeah, hey.
That joke did not ignite.
No, fortunately. And we also learned never to tell Shannon anything in confidence ever, which kind of ruins what Aeryn was probably going to say to Crichton at the beginning of the episode before all the fun started. And kind of like I mentioned before, that there's a lot of good effects. So hopefully they're saving up the money for a big episode later. But what they did spend it on, I thought was pretty good. Nice, external effects and blasting plants and Moya like glowing from the inside when they set off the stuff at the end there. So that's kind of cool. So overall, yeah, pretty good story. Loved it. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I've always said that salad is evil, so there's that. Um, proving my point here. But yeah, overall, good story. I think it nicely gets the crew settled back into place. I mean, we had the band back together last episode, but there was a lot of strife amongst the crew in that one. Everybody's kind of reestablishing. We had the surprise of Scorpius being present and all the stuff that got introduced there. So this was more of a, as you referenced, bottle episode where the crew's working together against an external threat. So we get good and mostly less violent crew interactions. I mean, it's Farscape, so there's always some. But overall, yeah.
Yeah, and
nicely done.
Aeryn was kind of out of it last time, so now like everybody's up, alert, running around, snarking at each other like they always do. So back to normal Farscape.
Yep, normal Farscape, almost a full crew present for most of the interactions. So yeah.
Yeah, trying to work our new buddy Scorpion into the crew here. So yeah, so let's jump into some specifics here. So we start off with John predicting that a wormhole will pop up soon near them. So you keep that plot element going forward as he's evolving here, his knowledge. And this time it actually works, just not exactly when he thinks. So he's getting better. Not quite there yet, but
it's just
he's
his watch is a little fast. It's all right.
yeah, he's like what, like about 5-10 seconds off. So hey, not bad. And then acting Captain Rigel gives his long-winded speech and his command to like move away, so we're okay. And then of course, nope, everything starts blowing up. People get knocked around, and you're supposed to probably made to be thinking that him taking too long meant the wormhole hit them or something, or sucked them in, and they got spit out somewhere. But nope, we found out later that's not the case. But that kind of does point out the fact that it's probably not a good idea to make Rigel captain. He would be pontificating and making speeches while they're getting shot at. So,
Yeah, Dominar and Captain don't necessarily equate to each other, right? I did like this the no stars bit though. That was pretty good, misdirection for a minute because I really did think they got stuck somewhere. The mystical timing thing on Crichton's part, I thought that was interesting, or at least them showing that way, even if it does turn out to actually be a scientific reason behind it, was an interesting move. I wonder if they're going to treat it like Chiana being able to see the future, right, with her predictions or flashes of the future or whatever that she had there for a little bit. He just has it specifically about wormholes because of whatever the ancients gave him. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they do that.
yeah, it's fun to kind of make a scene out of it. Make it other than just like him staring at a screen. It's like, yeah, here it comes. At least it's more entertaining that way, I guess.
Well, and it'll let him, assuming it continues that way, it'll let him like predict them in the future without having to be staring at screens and doing calculations, right? He'll just be like, oh, no, wormhole coming, So
Yeah, stick his finger in his mouth, stick it up in the air. It's like wormholes,
from the northwest,
yeah.
15 knots.
And maybe he'll count down in French next time. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, you have to read that recap.
Yeah, I did take high school French for a little bit, so I might, if I still remember any of it, I'll be good. And
Yeah, as you could tell, I had trouble passing Spanish.
yeah.
So
Well, yeah, I mean, you live in Florida. No one speaks Spanish in Florida. I mean, it's just
no,
no one.
foreign language.
No. And then, of course, we found that it wasn't the wormhole. It was some plant that lives in space. So, okay, cool idea. Another cool little Farscape creature has engulfed Moya, causing her sensors not to work, burning her skin, dissolving her metal, and also that means that's where the stars went because they don't not see them. It's just the sensors don't work. And then we got Sikozu running off to Scorpius' cell because he says there's a fire in there. Of course, Chiana does not trust Sikozu, probably rightly so. We'll find out. But she confronts her about don't trust Scorpius. We know him better than you do, so keep him in there. Don't mess with him. Although later we learn, or I guess kind of see, because of how they're doing the captain voting, that Sikozu voted for Scorpi to be captain. So I think that kind of deserves maybe talk about that now at this point, since it's only been like what 6 episodes. And so, what does she see in Scorpius? Is she working for him? Did he do something to her when he got on board Moya? Because we didn't see all the every waking moment here. They were alone for some time when they built that device to extract or kill our buddy Harvey, the neural clone of Scorpius that was in John's head. She said, "Oh yeah, me and Scorpius built this together." Okay, how long did that take? Like, how long were you alone with him? Or something else? Does she see him as like the most stable and possibly sane person on Moya at this point? So she's sticking with him? I don't know.
Yeah, which says something about the crew, right?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'm still unsure what they want us to see there yet. Like you said, the obvious thing, given the interactions between the two of them, would be that they're somehow working together. But then, my suspicious nature says is that what they want you to see, and it's really something out of left field that's going to pop up later, and she's double crossing him or playing him or keeping an eye on him. Who knows? We don't know yet. Which I really like Sikozu. I definitely like her better than Jewel and way better than Naranti. Man, I'm not a huge Naranti fan at this point. So I'm hoping that she's not really in league with Scorpio, right? I'm hoping that this is some other method, but I'll be kind of disappointed if they did just kind of introduce her just to make her a Scorpius pawn. But we'll see as the story goes, I guess.
Yeah, although this time at least Naranti's not blowing powder in people's faces, so
No, and actually, I have to admit, I did kind of like the interactions between Sikozu and Naranti, right? When they put those two together and have Naranti berating her, it kind of made me feel better because that's how I wanted to interact with her too. So
yeah, because they're kind of like polar opposites, right? Like Sikozu's more like logical and analytical, and Naranti's just kind of like ditzy, seat of her pants. Oh, I'll just mix some stuff together, and I don't know, woo, And Sikozu's like, "What
yeah,
are you
what's this poison taste like?
Yeah, she's like drinking poison. She's like, I don't understand. Whatever. Yeah, there's something wrong with you, right? So, which fits in with the Great Farscape comedy. But then, of course, Dargo figures out that the best action, of course, is to blow up the plant. So, of course, so he and John go off in his new little fighter ship here, Lola. So kind of like the sea plant, kill plant. I'm like, yeah, hey. And then, of course, he admits to John that he loves shooting things, which, yeah, I guess that tracks. Although I think in the scheme of shooting things over the course of the years, John and Aaron have probably fired lots more shots than Dargo. But I guess Dargo does seem to love maybe shooting things more than they do. I don't know.
Well, the difference is I think that Dargo likes actually shooting things, and John and Aaron like shooting at things.
True. Yeah. It's not quantity, it's quality. It's
Right, right.
And of course, keeping with how Farscape works here, just after they fire, Narenti yells, "No, don't shoot the plant." So, perfect Farscape timing. And that means now the plant has, looks like it got destroyed, but nope, it's burrowed into Moya to get away from being shot. Okay, kind of cool. But comics, you wonder why didn't it just do that to begin with, rather than just make it take a long time here. But, hey, plot, drama, I get it, whatever. Didn't really bug me.
Well, space plants are lazy unless fired upon. I mean,
Yeah, it takes lots of
as we
energy
said.
to move around like that. You want to conserve your energy because you're floating around space with nothing around you to eat. So yeah, I get it. Okay.
But yeah, I will have to admit, this was the biggest surprise of the episode for me. I had no suspicions at all that Dargo liked to shoot things. I mean, military background, all that. Yeah, did not see that coming. So, biggest surprise of the episode right there.
Yeah, his combo sword and gun. It's like, yeah, well, why would you think he want to shoot stuff? I don't understand.
Yeah, they didn't telegraph that one at any point in the last 3.5 seasons.
Yeah, inconceivable. And then while we have the little back and forth with John and Darrow trying to figure out should they shoot the plant, not shoot the plant. Shannon and Aaron are going around fixing things, and Moya, Aaron just kind of says that she's not going to fix the leak because she's pregnant and it might be not so good. Yeah, and oh, by the way, Crichton doesn't know. It might not be his at all anyway. But hey, by the way, why don't you just keep this between us, okay? How about that? Just you and me, sister to sister here. Let's not tell anything around here. And of course, the second we see her alone with Dargo, probably the first person she was alone with since then, she blabs the whole thing. And then
As you do.
yeah, and then to top it off, even blames it on Rigel. So I'm like, hey, perfect. So
Yep. Also, as you do.
yeah, but hey, I guess you're in a small crew. I guess some hot gossip is just too juicy to keep to yourself. Although that pretty much ends anything you're ever gonna get from Aaron ever again. I think so.
Yeah, although she should have known better from the start. I mean, Shauna's good at stuff, lots of stuff, but keeping things from Dargo and John, no, she's going to tell one of the two of them as soon as she sees them. Like that's just a given. So yeah, interesting choice there. But of course, since they wanted it to get around to the crew, that's the perfect person to have her tell, right?
Yeah, I mean, what's the fastest way to get around the ship? There you go. And it creates more drama later, which we'll talk about. And then yeah, we get the like we talked about the little fun scenes with Sakuzu and Narenti working on a poison, trying to kill the plant, and just we're back to it taking two people again to replace Zan. So Zan would have come up with this all by herself, but got to involve the whole crew now.
Yeah, well, I mean that completely tracks given who the two people are, right? I mean, we have the complete, presented from the start as a very competent and dependable Zan versus these two. Yeah. Whew.
Yeah, one probably competent, one to be
So incompetent,
to
she
be
unknows the
determined.
other one.
Yeah, one possibly.
Yeah. Yeah. The problem is you've got like a positive 0.75 and a negative 3. So,
Yeah. So basically, total coincidence. Yeah.
yeah. They're lucky they didn't blow Moya up, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And once again, we got Scorpius to the rescue here. So he helped out last episode with Aaron. Now this time, whatever's in his coolant rods seems to repel the plant. That's kind of cool. So they work on diluting it as much as possible. Which I'm wondering if it all flushed down the thing. Did they keep any, or how did they make extra? Because Scorpius kind of needs that. But oh, well, maybe they save some. I don't know. And then of course they tie him down next to Pilot to keep him, to help Pilot because he was affected by the plants because that was kind of a weird, gross scene with the Pilot like drooling and like plants sticking out of his mouth or whatever. So, but so you gotta keep him like right next to the Pilot and kind of keep him half conscious and half working. So a win-win for everybody, and some more good Farscape comedy.
Yeah. I mean, I do have to hand it to him. Scorpio was the underused, I feel like, most underused person in this episode. I kind of felt like they're still trying to figure out how he's going to integrate with this crew, especially given how many new additions we've had to the crew lately, right? I mean, we went from a pretty small crew to they're kind of busted at the seams. It's a good thing they keep finding new rooms in Moya because, um, we've got a lot more people now. But
Yeah, and we can't spend the rest of the 18 episodes, 16 episodes with him stuck in a room all the time. So at some point he's going to get out, whether willingly or unwillingly in this case. But
right,
so yeah, well, you have to slow roll it because he's been the big bad for 3 seasons, so you kind of got to, or two half seasons, so you got to work him into him wandering around. Probably first never alone. Maybe eventually he might kind of sneak off on his own. We'll see. Who knows? But
yeah, and that is an interesting side point, right? Is that how quickly it seems like that Aeryn trusts him. So that leads to me think there's more to him finding and rescuing her than we've gotten yet. Maybe that's all we're going to get. But I just found it interesting that she was the one this episode that commented that she trusted him, but the rest of the crew didn't.
yeah, and he did save her life, so I guess if you feel something like reciprocal, or you want to at least trust him a little bit because he didn't have to. Like, what's his game? So who knows? We'll hopefully find out.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and of course, like we said before, that plans don't always quite work out as Farscape wants them to. Or actually, that's probably how they want them to work, make us laugh and be cringy. But the atmospheric scrubber fans break, eat by the plant just at the right moment, and the coolant gets sucked down drain pipe. Of course.
Why did they put a drain there?
Yeah, it's like it's an air room. You're not draining air. Like, what do you do? I don't get it. But then, of course, Laurenti comes up with the compound that will deal with the plant, and of course, it's something that Moya already has and already in her filter system. Like, huh? Okay, whatever. So they get that turned into an aerosol, and they start dispersing it throughout Moya. But apparently, all hinges on the DRDs shooting it at the same time. So for some reason, you just can't like go on the comms and say, "Hey, DRDs, shoot!" You have to have Rigel press a control. So of course, right when he's going to do it, pilot wakes up because the wormhole shows up and starts to panic. Rajo can't get to the controls. And once again, Scorpius, our good buddy, to the rescue, chopping off pilot's arm. And Rajo tells the DRDs to fire and saves the day. And poor pilot, it's like what, the third or fourth time he's had his arms chopped off, so he can't seem to keep any of his arms attached to his body at all.
Yeah, which I did want you kind of mentioned the plant scene with Pilot earlier, where it's like he's coming down, but I thought this would be a good spot to call out. I really thought there was some really good work done with the by the creature shop on the pilot this season, or this episode rather. It stuck out at me in several spots that they were maximizing his distress and the interactions with the crew, and between, like I said, the drama and the issues he was having with the pain and the plants, and then the way he was disarmed in this episode, or the way he was disarmed in that scene. I just thought that they did a really good job with the animatronics and the Muppeteering there on that one.
Yeah, because we learned last episode's trivia that they built a brand new pilot, you know, puppet, Muppet, whatever creature for this season. So yeah, maybe I didn't go back and like compare like old pilot to this pilot. Did they improve the animatronics? Did they improve the mobility? I don't know, to make it more realistic, because he's a major part of the crew, and it's a gigantic puppet. I mean, this thing is massive. So yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, it was. I just thought there was some really well done scenes with him this episode.
hmm Yeah, we love pilot. Pilot's cool.
Yeah.
And finally, our last two scenes here, we get our vote results for captain. And apparently Dargo won. He got half the votes, 4 out of 8, which leaves me kind of questioning because they don't tell you. So, like, who voted for Dargo, do you think? Obviously, through showing on the screen, Rigel voted for himself, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Zakozu for Scorpy. Okay, again, that's we talked about that. Kind of like, huh? Okay. Naranti does like a burn vote, basically, because, yeah, sure. And then Aaron got one, which, like, who voted for Aaron? So, I don't know. Any
Well,
thoughts? Any guesses?
yeah. So I tried to break this one down, right? So there's 8 votes. So like you said, 4 left. That leaves Aaron, Pilot, Channa, John, and Dargo, because you kind of eliminated the 3,
hmm
right? At first, I was kind of like, oh, John's going to vote for Aaron. But when you start adding it up, then that means Dargo voted for himself, and I don't think I buy that. So my opinion here is that Dargo voted for Aaron, and the remainder voted for Dargo.
Yeah, that's probably how I would think about it. I mean, I was thinking maybe Pilot voted for Aaron because they kind of shared DNA from way, way back in, like what, episode two
Yeah,
of
but
this.
again,
But,
that
but
that means that Dargo voted for himself.
yeah,
That didn't
which,
seem honorable.
yeah, I could see Dargo 3.5 years ago or 4 years ago voting for himself.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
and Aaron voting for herself. You know, John
And
probably,
John voted for
yeah,
himself.
John maybe not even caring at 3 years ago. He's like, I just want to get home. I don't care. I want to be captain here. Chiana's not gonna, she's gonna vote, well, at the time probably for Dargo because they had a thing. But yeah, I mean, as they've matured and grown, yeah, I think that probably tracks.
Yeah, and actually, that's a good other point I wanted to bring up, which was I mentioned earlier that Dargo's line was the most surprising thing, but in reality, this actually surprised me the most because when we talked about elections, even on our predictions from last time, I was immediately thinking that John was going to end up being captain.
Hmm.
So the fact that they went to Dargo and pretty solidly went to Dargo, I was like, oh wow, okay, they're doing something totally different than they expected. John being the logical choice for them to the series to push as the captain. So
Although now I'm kind of curious since Dargo is the only one that can fly Lola, and obviously he wants to, run out there and shoot things and be out there. So if they ever have to leave again to go do something, is Dargo going to say, okay, now so and so is captain? Because
no, he's going to lead the away missions and he'll just name somebody as his number one.
yeah, because now you're gonna have, 7 people talking to pilot again, and they'll be all confused. So you have to have some kind of like temporary thing, or when he's leaving, it's like, okay, Aaron, your turn, or whatever, and off he goes, or I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess we'll see if that happens, but that's the fun, I guess. It's becoming a real starship now.
they're going to have uniforms pretty soon.
Yeah, yeah,
Little communicator badges.
yeah. Well, they already have those, yeah. So they just need the same uniform now. That'll be good.
Universal translator? Nope, they got
Yeah,
that.
got that. Except for Sikozu, doesn't work on her. And yeah, then at the end, we finally have the conversation about the baby, sort of.
That's going to be the next episode title.
Yeah. two,
3 Sebastians and a baby. No, wait.
two Crichtons and a baby.
They missed that shot.
Yeah, yeah. Now I gotta look up when that film came out. Anyway, but yeah, we learn more things about
Two
Peacekeeper.
Crichtons and a baby.
Yeah, no, the three men and the baby, the spoof title. Yeah. But yeah, so we learn more things about Peacekeepers or Sebastians, maybe that those born on a command carrier can somehow keep a fetus from growing for up to 7 cycles. And for some reason, Aaron's not sure who the father is because she hasn't had time to get DNA tested. Which, okay, but I gotta think about that in a second. John says that he can trust her with his life, but he can't trust her with his heart. Ooh, savage burn. And storms off, telling her to get her story straight, which I want to talk about that in a second here. But what do you think about that? I don't really think 3 years into being an ex-peacekeeper that she got pregnant before then. So I don't know why she thinks it from back then. Like, I don't know how promiscuous she was back on her peacekeeper days. I don't know. Or does she just really not want to admit that it's probably the other Crichtons yet?
So yeah, I'm with you here. I gotta. This was the most confusing part of the episode for me. When they start trying to lay out the logic and it doesn't work, which maybe that's intentional, right? I think that's what John was getting to at the end of the whole conversation. Uh, Up front, I really thought it was going to mean it would be traced back to someone she was with between the two Crichtons, right? Because she did go through that depression period after Crichton One's death, and then they had to go find her, and she was had the issue with her mom and all that kind of stuff. So maybe something happened while they were out that way, but that's not the story she went with. And now I'm not sure Crichton bought what she said either, so we'll see how it plays out going forward. But yeah, the whole multiple years, and she all of a sudden now it matters, but yet she still has to go find a somebody to make it out of stasis. And what's different now from before? I don't know. It's very confusing.
Yeah, and I guess like you said, he calls her on like come back when you get your story straight. So yeah, he's not buying it. So yeah, whatever she's trying to say, maybe it got ruined with all the reveals and gossip and whatever that she would have told him something different back in the beginning when they were going to go talk about it before everything happened. I don't know, but
And my understanding, right, is based on assuming that statement's at face value, that even though she's now considered pregnant and she's worried about being around venting gases and all that kind of stuff, the baby's in stasis and therefore is not going to do anything until they go find somebody to take it out of stasis. So I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
then her dying 2 seasons ago and being in a cryopod and then coming back, it's like that didn't mess with it either. So yeah, so yeah, I'm sure that's probably what he's thinking too. It's like you've been through all kinds of stuff with possessions and viruses and like 2 times heat delirium now.
DNA
Yeah, DNA
alterations.
alterations. Yeah, all this stuff, and it's like, and you were pregnant 4 years ago. Probably no. So- but yeah, good point. So yeah, yeah, he's not buying it at all. So yeah, we'll see how this works now. So now she's got to earn his trust. They have to, come back together. They're almost together. Now they're not. No, yeah.
Well, now that she's at the point where she says that she's, doesn't see a difference between the two Crichtons and is past her Crichton 1 versus Crichton 2 thing, now John's got to be the one that's hard to get, right? So, you know,
Yeah,
we've got to keep our soap opera
yeah.
going.
You have to play hard to get, for a while, and then it'll all work out.
Oh, there's quite a few episodes left, so
Yep. Speaking of which, great segue.
I was trying, man. I was doing my best.
On the next podcast, we will do Farscape Season 4, Episode 7, John Quixote. So, playing our usual guessing game of what does that mean? Yeah. Apart from it being a play on words for Don Quixote, the famous novel, which I will admit I have never read. It never came up as an option in school, and I never really wanted to do it on my own because I was reading Star Wars books and Star Trek books and fantasy books and all that good stuff. If I didn't have to read something old and famous or whatever, I didn't buy. So, but what I do know of it, just on just world, just being part of the fabric of our society and world here, that kind of I guess what the themes or whatever from that is I've heard like tilting at windmills, which kind of means like attacking imaginary enemies. So maybe John fights imaginary enemies next episode. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's not gonna get a sidekick named Sancho Panza and ride around the Spanish countryside on a horse. Although keeping it in the sci-fi thing here, Quixote's horse is named Rocinante, apparently. So shout out to The Expanse 20 years later after this. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I got no idea.
Well, so uh, I'll save our comments about books we were forced to read in school and not read in school and how that affects our opinion of reading versus the books we want to read for a later spinoff episode, maybe. But I'll say I'm not much better with my knowledge of Don Quixote. Mine all comes from the VeggieTales episode where Archibald Asparagus is eating something bad before bed. I'm pretty sure it was some bad spicy salsa or something, and ends up attacking a competing restaurant. So obviously, I'm no help whatsoever, unless you want to talk VeggieTales. But nice catch on the Expanse reference in the show that predates it. That's pretty nicely done.
Yeah, because of course, I went to the Wikipedia page for Don Quixote because I have no concept of what it's about. And I'm going through like, oh, his horse's name Rocinante. Hey, I know that name and that word. So, other than that, that's all I know about Don Quixote. So I'm sorry if that offends anybody out there. It's just never got around to it. I don't know.
It's the asparagus of La Mancha. I knew there
Oh,
was
there
a.
we go. Yeah,
I had to look it up. There you go.
he's like Don Quixote something La Mancha, whatever. Yeah, so that's his name. So yeah, there we go.
Yeah, and for those of you who may be interested in that, it's on the YouTubes. So
Yeah, so that will be your homework for next time. If something does,
just to clarify, the Farscape
yeah, the
episode,
Farscape,
not
not the
not
VeggieTales.
the VeggieTales.
Although, feel free to watch it. We won't talk about it next time, but if you want to watch it, you certainly
Yeah,
can.
yeah. Feel free to write in a comment. Let us know what you think of VeggieTales. Maybe that's another segment in the show coming up.
Or if you're really adventurous for extra points, go read Don Quixote and then tell us.
Tell us how wrong we are.
Yeah, tell us that we totally missed the point of the name of the title of the next episode. Yeah. Or if they're dropping Don Quixote things all through the next episode, I'm not gonna get them at all. So it's gonna go right over my head. So, and if something else comes out in the meantime, like another Star Wars or Star Trek thing, or not Star Trek, you don't care, um, or a Marvel thing, we might talk about that. But I think we're in a kind of a dead zone here for next month or so of anything else coming out.
Yeah, well, it can't rain all the time.
Yeah, but hey, we love Farscape. That's why we started this whole thing. So we'll be totally fine talking about Farscape next time. So with that, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.